And we are live. Had to restart because the camera was a little blurry, so gave it a good wipe with the t-shirt. And we are live. It is the SG Weekly number 90. That's a big number, which is pretty cool. Thanks for tuning in. This week, what was really on my mind is email and communication and all that good stuff. And more specifically, why I am the InboxZero type. And there's a few kind of reasons / benefits. I would say they're kind of both, but primarily benefits that I've kind of realized after doing it for years, right? So I started my practice a little bit over 2 years ago, and one of my main objectives at the time was to be super responsive by email, because what's one thing most lawyers, especially at bigger firms, are known to be bad at is communication. So one way to differentiate myself was to give really good client service in terms of communication and stuff like that. Now, what I learned was there's more benefits than just being reliable in that sense, but I'm going to go over the 3 core reasons. Number 1 is because it moves your business forward quicker. And here's what I mean by that. Especially if you're starting or growing your own business, but also if you're working within another business, you're talking to a lot of people, right? You're doing a lot of things. You're working on projects. You're maybe doing sales, trying to get clients. How all of those things generally happen is through conversations, right? And in order to get those things accomplished, you have to talk about certain things, get certain things done through conversation. So the obvious extension is that the faster these conversations are moving along, the faster you're giving your sales pitch, showing how much value you can give, handling objections, explaining your offer, or whatever it is. Maybe you're working in a company explaining your project. I don't know. It doesn't matter what. But the faster these conversations are happening, the faster things get done, right? The faster certain events happen, the faster you make sales, the faster you receive your money. So anytime you're in the process of doing something and you take 2, 3, 4, 5, God knows how many days to respond to an email, you're pushing back the end result by that much time, right? So the easiest example, especially for solopreneurs, is sales. If you're talking with a prospective client, you should be responding within 12 hours. And that's my rule. That's my rule for almost any email, is within 12 hours. If you're trying to make a sale and you take 3 days to respond, that's the equivalent of if you were in a meeting with them saying, no, thank you. Give me some more time. I don't want your money yet. I want a delay for some unknown reason, right? You're just pushing off the end result down the road even longer, which makes no sense. So that's number 1, right? The faster you have these conversations and reach milestones, the faster things happen and get done for your business. Could be sales, partnerships, anything, God knows what. Referrals, all that good stuff. Number 2, the second reason is because you yourself are seen as more reliable, right? So if you're the type of person that responds, doesn't have to be right away, right? I'm not saying respond every email within 30 minutes or even an hour. But if you're the type of person that people know send a valuable response within 12 hours every time, guess who they're going to go to when they need help, right? Not only when they need your services again or your type of service again, but even when they need unrelated help, right? And so my example of this is I have previous clients or current clients where for one reason or another, they're dealing with another lawyer. Maybe it's through another company, or they used me once and then they're working for another company that's using another lawyer. And they'll send me an email while they're working on a file with a different lawyer asking me a question because they know there's a high chance I'm going to respond quicker. And not only quicker, but they're going to get a good response, right? As anyone who's emailed with lawyers know, number 1, they're slow to respond. Many of them, not all of them, but they're slow to respond. And number 2 is that their responses may not always be super helpful. So if you position yourself as the person who always gives reliable responses, even if you're totally unrelated to the matter, they might come back to you. And I'm totally fine with that, right? One way you could think is, well, I don't want people bugging me on other files because if they're not paying me, then blah, blah, blah. I'm going to get to that in my third reason. But that's a great thing. You want that because it means if that person's company fires their lawyer or they're not happy with their lawyer, they want a new one, who do you think they're going to? They're going to come right to me, right? Or change lawyer with anything, accountant, whatever. Insert profession here or insert service provider here, right? Digital marketer, anything, consultant, career coach, anything. It applies to all of it. So be reliable in general, and it will help with business, especially with sales. That's one reason why I've never lost a client to another lawyer, right? Because they know they're not going to get better customer service from another lawyer, that's for sure, especially if they're at a big law firm. Number 3, this is less scientific, we'll call it, but it's good karma, right? And this may sound lovey-dovey, fluffy-wuffy, whatever, but I'm of the belief, and it has proven for me in the past, and it has proven for most of the solopreneurs that I've interviewed on the podcast, the SG podcast, that if you are doing good for the world, if you are creating value for others, whether you're charging or not, the world will flow that value back to you in one way or another, right? And this more applies to, the first two more apply to like people in your business, potential clients, et cetera, et cetera. They still apply to anybody, but this third one especially applies to people who may not be clients yet. You may not be sure if they ever could be a client, and you're like, well, how much time do I want to spend on this, et cetera, et cetera. When in doubt, take the time. Don't take 10 minutes. Don't take 20 minutes. Write a response. Write a good enough email response, and you never know what can come from it. And it may not come from that, but in one way or another, if you're providing a lot of good value to the world, it will return to you in one way or another. And this is one of the main themes I've noticed, right, from a lot of the solopreneurs who I interview. And they say, especially at the beginning when you're starting out, help a lot of people, whether they're paying you or not, right? I'm not going to go too much further into that because it's pretty self-explanatory. And again, I can't prove it with math, and you shouldn't try to prove it with math. But if you're a good person and you're doing good things and you're providing a good service, then eventually good things will happen. So anyways, those are the 3 key reasons or key benefits. I guess they're both reasons and benefits. And hope they make sense to you. I'd love to hear in the comments below, if you're watching this on YouTube, what your thoughts are. Are you an InboxZero person? If so, or if not, why or why not? Especially if you are, do you connect to these reasons? Do you see these benefits? Would love to hear that. We'll be dropping a podcast episode on Sunday, I believe. So keep your eyes peeled, and hope you've had a great week, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.